this show is called synecdoche, which is a literary term that means a part of a whole, so that each work represents a part of a larger whole. So I curated the show, and I know all these artists, and one of the reasons I curated them together is I was really impressed with how confidently they deal with the edge. So I'm an installation artist, and I mostly do large-scale installations which don't have edges, so I thought these artists really know how to deal with the edge in all different kinds of ways. And the other reason is I was interested in how they all had a similar working process in terms of manual labor, so you could see the handcraftedness of the work. But I have to say, when I walked in and saw all the work hung, the first thing I thought was, this looks like someone in a really good suit. Like it just looks like really fine, tailored clothing. And it gave me that sense of pleasure I get when I look at people that are well dressed. So, and it's that idea of clothing being interface between our body and the outside. And I'm interested in these works in how they create an intimate space, and then they also expand further. And I could talk about that when we look at the specific works. But that's kind of how it started to get all these artists together. This work here is by Goring, and you could see in this work it has that really intense detail, all the hand-painted lines, and at the same time he has this frame, which is an angular frame, something we're not used to seeing, and it makes us aware of the space outside the work. And then he has this area here where he's sanded down the surface, so it brings you outside of the painting. So again, it's that going out of the painting that is happening in this particular work. So this painting is by MacDougall, and we were talking about the idea of the suit. The brush he uses is actually called a pinstriper. It's a small 6-inch brush that helps him get these undulating lines. So one of the things I'm interested in this piece is how the all-over pattern, you have a sense of it not only perhaps extending out from the sides, but also going in deeper. Like the layers bring you inside the surface, so it has again, the handmade quality, and then the expansive surface. So this work is by Xane Phillip, and this work opens up so that you could see it. So, I love this work because it's not only a painting, it's a sculpture, but it's also a small-scale piece of architecture, because it works the way, it's actually based on the architecture of Russian Orthodox churches. And so in terms of what I was saying about the detail, like these are all hand-painted and sanded and painted back and forth. And then, so you have that intense detail, and then the light behind and the shadows brings you out into the bigger space. So that is how that kind of relates to my theme. And like these sharp edges, like the well-defined form, again, that it's like a really nice Italian suit.
I had presented to her 8 years ago, 9 years ago. Sometimes does paintings like AC wine, and honestly, he has a great big tractor that comes out. I think you're quite a bit of sponsors.
I'm Steve Goring, and I can tell you a little bit about my work, Efren. My other larger, I do quite large pieces as well, and they started off by doing what I call a float frame. The image looks like it's floating. Then a few years ago, just to start working on, the previous ones were on canvas, but these ones were smaller works, and I wanted to work on paper and do something smaller and something that would be more conducive to being more maybe experimental or quicker, not so much time consuming, so you do quicker ones. So I originally started with some of the similar horizontal type vertical stuff because that's kind of primary to my rest of my work. It's always something's vertical and something's horizontal with lines. So I did a couple of these ones, but I'd put them into a square frame, and they were as normally what you would see a frame. It was vertical, horizontal as well. But then I did cut off a little bit of the frame itself, and the reason I did that was I wanted to let the space sort of an energy float either out of it or let some of the space surrounding it come in. So it kind of joined the two together. They weren't kind of marinated. But then I started working on these ones, and I had started on the other piece of work, and I knew I wanted to do something horizontal and vertical, but keep it into an angle to give it some kind of interest, sort of more, and it kind of threw you off and made you look at it. So then I started with this one, just a slight angle to it, and then I decided it sort of seemed like a flash, you know, like a banner that you would normally see. So I kind of took that banner effect and then put it on, kept it sort of similar to the same angle, and then the spacing. So that's kind of where I came from it, and that's the result. So they're kind of fun to do, and I'm also always trying to push the envelope and try to do something different with the space and thinking it in different ways. So that's where I sort of go from there. So, and color-wise too, I'm always trying to put color together and make a sort of a mass of color and different blocking, and so that's sort of where we are.